Hey guys, what's going on? This is Dio from Red Diamond Mobile Auto Detailing, and today we're going to be talking about headlight restorations. Now, as far as how to restore headlights, there are all kinds of videos that explain processes on how to restore headlights. So, in my video, I kind of want to add a few things that I was looking out for when I was learning how to restore headlights. Headlights are made of a material called polycarbonate plastic, and that material is really great for not cracking. And it lasts a long time, and it's cheap for manufacturers to produce for the cars. There's a downside, though, is that polycarbonate plastic is porous. So it's no wonder that after, 5-10 years with UV rays just pounding the crap out of it coming this way and the headlights shining up the other way, this plastic degrades over time. Now, the factory will put clear coat protection on top of the headlights, but it's very, very, very thin. I believe it's somewhere around like 0.5 mils, which your paint is around 2 to 3. So I mean, this is a sixth of that. So after a period of time, it just can't handle it anymore, and it just buckles under the amount of damage that it takes. So this is what it looks like. So we are going to remove obviously all of this oxidation, which would be dead plastic, right? We're going to remove all of that and make it completely transparent again. So not only is the looks, a lot better, but when you turn on your headlights when you're driving at night, you will see a considerable amount of visibility that you didn't have before. So that's the big selling point is obviously looks and safety. Another thing to keep in mind is that when you're restoring headlights, right? I was always looking for information on okay, well, when do you stop? When do you know that it's too far? I was researching way back in the day how to restore headlights, same thing as I was restoring paint, right? We know paint is really thin. We know we only want to remove a certain amount of it, blah, 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 right? Well, with headlights, it was just like, here's how you restore it. And then you just see a guy sanding away. Okay, so we talked about how thin the clear coat is on the headlight. We want to remove all of that. So unlike paint, when you're trying to remove as little as possible to get the paint fixed, we're trying to remove all of the clear coat on the headlight, right? So how far can you go? As far as necessary. That's the answer to it, and that'll make you more comfortable when you're restoring headlights. Headlights are not restoring paint at all. Paint, you have to be very, very careful about how much clear coat and how fast and how slow and how does this panel heat up more than this panel, blah, blah, blah. There's all kinds of variables. Headlights, super simple. So if you're a DIY guy, do not be intimidated. These are super easy to fix. It's just all about being thorough and definitely checking your work step by step by step. Because if you don't, you get to step 3, 4, and 5, and then you go, man, this still isn't looking good. You'll have to restart depending on the damage. And I'll explain more of that while we go on. But anyways, when you're restoring headlights, all of it. You're removing not only the dead plastic or the oxidation, you're also removing the clear coat. That's the goal. Because you're going to come back and hopefully put some sort of protection on top of the headlights when you've finished. Another thing that I want to mention is the home remedies, DIY, and then the professional kind of aspect of it. So I know that there's been a bunch of homemade recipes or whatever for restoring headlights. And I promise you there's nothing that restores headlights properly other than maybe DIY kits or definitely obviously professionally. I know toothpaste is like the #1 go-to. And here's what I'll say about that. If you know what 800 grit sandpaper feels like, that's what we're going to start to restore this. That is nothing compared to the grit in toothpaste. If it was, you wouldn't have any teeth left. It's just not enough to clean these headlights. It also leaves a really nasty resin behind that, again, will get in the way of the clarity. So to leave the toothpaste in the bathroom, you can buy a DIY kit for $10 at O'Reilly's or Auto Parts or AutoZones, whatever. And the DIY kits do work. Absolutely, they do work. Now here's the difference between a DIY kit and a professional. So a DIY kit typically comes with 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 grit sandpaper, a compound polish, and a wool pad that you can put to your drill. It's like $10, right? So it's great for anybody that doesn't have any kind of professional tools. All you need really is a drill, and you can actually fix your headlights. Does it work? Absolutely it does. Now here's the deal. The difference between that and a professional, like myself, will start maybe a little bit lower, 800, go to 1,000, right? Go to 1,250, then go to 1,500, 2,000, 2,500, 3,000, 5,000, compound, polish, and then we add a protective layer on top of the headlights to actually avoid it oxidizing. If you don't protect it, it'll just oxidize just like it is because it's completely naked. There's nothing protecting it. So the DIY or whatever, the kit basically has this margin of work being done, whereas the professional kind of goes further back to start. So it starts more aggressive to remove all of those the haze, all of the contaminants and the oxidation, and then it finishes lighter so that it's way more clear. Because 3,000, you're still applying scratches, right? But you get up to 5,000, 7,000 if you're absolutely insane, which I do, but that's for like show cars. There's no flaws, and then you compound polish, and I mean, it's the smoothest it's been since it left the factory. Then that's what we're looking for, right? Factory looks. So that was just some information that I wanted to put out there to you guys. That was some questions that I had when I was first starting looking to do headlight restorations. So I figured if I couldn't find it, maybe put it out there and make my video worth your time. So now we're going to actually talk about restoring the headlights, right? So here we go. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the tools that you're going to need to get this job done, right? Now, again, if you're using a DIY kit, there's instructions on how to use it. So you can use what's included in the box. So this video will show you kind of how to do it, right? But as far as like the products and stuff like that, it'll come in the box. Whatever DIY kit you buy should literally have everything that you need, maybe other than obviously some sort of supplemental wetting agent like soapy water, right? But that's simple enough. Just a little bit of soap, just a little bit, like a drop at dawn or something like that, and then just water, just kind of helps. Okay, so I've got a sanding block, right? Basically what this is going to help you to do is that when you're sanding, you're not applying pressure on your fingertips, right? So like in between your fingers, there'd be a lot less pressure than right here, obviously, right? So when you're sanding, you'll see the 4 points of pressure. It'll sand unevenly on your headlight. So what this allows you to do is that when you press down, it's even. Real simple, but makes a big difference. Sanding paper. Now again, I've got everything from 1,000 to 7,000 grit. So if you're gonna do it and you need to buy sandpaper, you can stop at 3 or 5. 7 is not necessary at all, and even 5, a polish could probably do what 5,000 grit sandpaper would do. So you really just need 1,000, 1,500, 2,000, 3,000. That'll be good enough to get the job done. But any extra steps just kind of helps, just save time. I've got a polisher. Obviously, this is what we're going to use to do our compound and polishing steps. An applicator pad that's going to be for our headlight coating. I've got a cutting disc, right? Again, for polishing. And then I've got a microfiber towel here. Now, again, want to talk about this. If you use a microfiber towel, use one of your throwaway towels, right? You don't want to take plastic off of your headlights, right, and all the dirt and grime and stuff like that, and then wash it with the towels that you use for your paint. Once you use a headlight towel, throw it away. That's why I have so many of these, because I don't care about these. They're years old, and they've been way past their time to ever touch paint again. But they're great for things like this, throwaway jobs. So this will be the last of its time. So that being said, those are all the tools that we'll need. And then, so let's go ahead and get started with this. Okay, so like I said, we're going to start with 1,000 because these are really oxidized. So we want to go ahead and hit it hard and remove as much as we possibly can. So in this step, we're going to do a dry sanding. And what we're going to do is you've got your backing plate, right? So you just wrap it around just like that. Here's what I do. I'll show you. So I start off with here, and you have a little tab that's folded in the middle, right? Just like that. And then you fold this side over all the way, and then that side goes half. Is that right there? So you don't want to use this side, because when you go this way, it's no big deal, but then when you go this way, right, this way, then this lip can cause issues. So you want the side that is no seam, right? Okay. So for the first run, we're going to go in one direction. All the sanding is basically one direction, right? And then it'll make sense in a little bit. So. And when you're doing this, okay, so all that right there, that yellow, that's dead clear coat. That's dead plastic, right? So, ridiculous. So, might have to actually use another block or another thing of sandpaper. So, like I said, you just want to take your time with this. Make sure you get everything off. Also failed to mention, when you do headlight restoration, it's good to tape around the paint, just in case you're going at it or whatever and you accidentally touch the paint, you're not doing serious damage to the paint. So that pad's completely overloaded. So here's what we're going to do now. So now we're going to flip it. And just like we wrapped the first one, so now we've got a whole brand new side. You know, that's the side that's nasty. Now we've got a brand new side. Because when sandpaper gets overloaded, it's not as efficient. It doesn't do the job as well. This is black sandpaper. That's ridiculous. So that's gone, right? Okay, so all that, yeah, like I said, that dust, right? That's dead clear coat. Okay, so you want to make sure that you go as much as necessary, because now when we go to the next step, if we didn't go as far as we needed to on this step, we've got to go back. So just to save time, it's better to do it this way. So you take your microfiber and you take a little bit of soapy water, right? And then just clean the area and get all of that dead, you know, plastic and all that stuff off the headlights. So that way when you go to your next step, you're not using the plastic that has been cleaned off. It's not getting in the way of your abrasives or messing with your results, right? So this is what I mean. This is one step. Like, look at the difference. Look at that disgusting headlight. And then look at this one. One step. Right? Now, obviously, not where we want it. But if you were to go drive at night now, you would see so much better out of this headlight. But we're not done, like I said. So, actually, before I touch all of my clean sandpaper, clean my gloves. Alright. So let's see here. 1,000. You know what? This is looking pretty clean. And every headlight's different. So this is pretty clean. I'm going to go ahead and jump to 2,000. I don't think I need to go 1,200, 1,500. I don't think that's necessary. But, again, you can. Just all depends on the situation, right? So now that we've got most of the stuff off, what I'm going to do is use some of this. One spray, right? 1, 2. That's it. And this is going to help kind of gather all the contaminants and stuff like that, and it'll also reduce the abrasives just a little bit, just enough. So now we went this way, right, with 1,000. So now we're going to use 2,000. Now here's a good technique to kind of double check your work, is that when we do 2,000, what we're going to do now is we're going to go up and down. Okay? And the reason we do that is when we're double checking our work to make sure that we got all of the scratches out from the 1000 grit. So when you're wet sanding, right, like right now we're at 2000. Our goal with our 2000 grit sandpaper is to remove all of the scratches that were necessary from the 1000 grit to get all of the clear coat and dead oxidation off of the headlight, right? So technically the headlight doesn't have any oxidation on it, right? But it still has a bunch of scratches. So now with the 2000, now we're removing all of the scratches that we put in with the 1000, right? So when we check the headlight, if we see any scratches that are horizontal, we know that we still have 1000 grit sandpaper marks and that we need to continue with 2000 until those horizontal scratches are removed and you only see vertical scratches, right? So now, let's clean it off. Let's check our work. Now these headlights are old and they've been through a beating, so there are stress cracks all over these headlights. You're not going to be able to remove those, right? Those are just way too deep, and they're probably on the inside as well, right? So basically what you're just trying to look is to make sure that you got that all the scratches that you see are going this way, right? Or, I'm sorry, this way. We removed the scratches going this way. We just want to see scratches going this way. So I see one right there that's horizontal. So I need to go back and get that, right? And you just check. You know what would actually help? So if I did this, hold on. There. Let me just do this real time, I guess. So if you actually turn on the headlight, it's another easy way to check. Even though it's sunny out, helps you a little bit. Okay. So other than this one, which I'll go ahead and hit real quick, they're all vertical. So use that soapy water to kind of clean out the contaminants from your sandpaper. Okay, there we go. When water is applied to the headlights, it'll fill in all of the scratches, kind of like wax does with paint. But then once it evaporates, then you'll see, but that scratch is gone. So in this case, like I said, paint, you know how paint is different. It's either hard, soft, right? Headlights are kind of the same thing. Every headlight is going to be different in how it's approached. I've had headlights to where it's like if you take a nail gun to it, it doesn't want to, you really have to pound those scratches out. It's insane. So with this particular headlight, just how fast it was cleaning up, I don't want to say that the headlight is soft. That's not the right word. But it's susceptible to scratching easier, which makes it clean easier. We'll go with that. So I didn't need to go to 1250, 1500 grit sandpapers. So now we're going to go to 3000. And now just like, clean this off. All right. So just like we did with the 2000, right? Wrap it, use the side that doesn't have the seam, do one spray, boom, boom. And we went vertical, right, with the 2000. And just like we did checking the 1000, now we're going to go horizontal with the 3000 grit. And this will be so we can check our 2000 grit sand marks. So clean this off, let it evaporate, and then we'll check our work. I see vertical scratches, so we've got to come back and get those. That should be all it needs. Only time you can do circles when drying anything off on a car. Headlights. All right, then you let that dry. Very good. Okay. So when you're doing this, if you're doing it for yourself, I guess it doesn't matter. But if you're doing this for a client, just best thing to keep in mind, just double check yourself, double check yourself, double check yourself. It's one thing that makes you a good detailer is that always be humble, right? And so when it comes to anything, especially glass, never think that if you hit it once, you're good to go. Always check it, pull it outside of the garage in the nice sun. That's the best light for you, and just check everything. All right, so I wanted to show you guys this. So these right here are stress cracks, right? You'll see a lot of them, like those are stress cracks. Those are not sanding cracks. And that's just due to age, and you can actually see like some, like all these over here, see all those little cracks? Okay, those are stress cracks in the plastic. And it's just from years and years of being baked in the sun. There's nothing we can do for those. But the clarity will be a lot better. So we've gone to 3000, and the way that these headlights are looking and how clean they're coming out, we're gonna go ahead and go to the compounding stage. So let's do that now. Okay, so just like when you're compounding paint, shake your compound up real good. Okay, and then you want to actually put a lot on the pad. Okay, so this is your Kevin Brown priming or seasoning the pad, right? If you guys are looking to do any kind of real restoration, like paint restoration, I don't even know if this is arguably anymore one of the best guys to talk to or learn from is Kevin Brown. Right now I'm obsessed with the AMMO, shocker, for those of you who know me, big AMMO guy. But the AMMO Training Academy with Kevin Brown is insane. So if you're super nerdy and you want to know exactly the best way to restore paint, why you're doing it, what you're doing, everything like that, highly recommend watching the AMMO Training Academy. You can find it on the AMMO NYC YouTube channel. He doesn't need my promoting, but if you haven't seen it, Kevin Brown is like he's absurd when it comes to paint restoration. He's just such a nerd, and he thinks so differently than most of us, and it works. He's a guy that just doesn't go, that's worked for me for 20 years. He doesn't think that way at all. So anyways, big shout out to Kevin Brown and Larry Casella from AMMO. But anyways, so priming the pad. So none of the microfibers are dry, right? So it's not going to affect our polishing, compounding, and things like that. And then so once you season the pad or prime it with product and you smear it all in so that there's no microfiber tails that are dry, then you put like 4 or 5 dots on the pad, right? And then you only have to prime it once, right? Once you've primed it, you're good to go, right? So then you take your compound and kind of smear it around the headlight so that way you don't spit it all around. And then you can go up to 6 on this. The way that these headlights are looking, I think I'm going to compound one more time because there's just so much debris coming out. So I only went twice, right? Because it was just loading the pad, right? So again, when you're doing your headlights, just kind of keep an eye on the headlight, kind of assess. Actually, I think I'm happy with that. The way that looks. Let's clean it off. And this is going to get any kind of compounding residue or any plastic that may have embedded itself. And you just let that kind of evaporate, dry it off, and then check your work. Okay, so yeah, so looking at it, once I removed all the product, that's why it's important to clean. Once I removed all the product and then looked at it again, it needs another compound. So, same thing. Another thing I want to mention is that when you're doing headlight restorations, you can have longer buffing cycles than, like, say, if you had like soft paint. Obviously, if you have like soft automotive paint and you're just removing so much material, then you would only do a couple of passes and then you would clean your pad. Headlights are a lot, more durable than paint is, so you can have longer buffing cycles. The reason why we do it manually instead of pneumatically, because there are 1-inch, 3-inch polishers that you can buy that are really good at sanding. Okay, let me rephrase that. The reason why I like to do it by hand is because when you are sanding like this, it's really hard to check yourself if you've got 1,000 grit marks or 2,000 grit marks, whatever the deal is. So when you go horizontal with 1,000 and then you go vertical with 2,000, if you see horizontal marks, you go, okay, I need to sand more with 2,000 to get these 1,000 sand grit marks out, right? So if your polisher's just doing this with 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 compound polish or whatever, and all you have is circles, you have no idea. At least I don't. So I'll just speak for me. Yeah, this came out good. So now we're going to switch our pad, which I forgot to grab another one. So now, of course, we still have a little bit of a haze, right? And that's normal because you've put in compounding scratches, right? So now you're going to take your polish and get it all over your hands. Very important. Take two. You're going to take your polish. I'm not editing that out, by the way. All right. So now, again, prime the pad. We've got our polish on there. And we're just gonna distribute it. Same thing. These look a hell of a lot different. So now we got all those scratches out. It looks great. So now what we're going to do is we're going to protect it, right? So we've removed all of the clear coat, all of the coating from the manufacturer off of the headlight lens. That's what we wanted to do. So now we're going to take a plastic coating. Okay. And now we're going to rub this in real good, right? So not just in one direction. You really want to get it everywhere. And you want to apply a good bit of pressure too. So like all these stress cracks, make sure you get that coating in there. So do your circles, do back and forth, up, down, every direction. And like I said, you want to put some pressure into it. Make sure that that headlight really pulls in that coating. Once it's kind of dried, you just want to kind of do a dry buff. All right, don't use your soapy water. Just want to kind of go in there and just if there's any extra sitting on the surface, go ahead and just buff that right off. You'll have to flip your towel a couple of times. Really get that extra resin off that's not needed. But there you are. So let me show you the end result. Okay, so this is what we started with, right? I mean, look at that. That is just nasty. All right? Here's where we finished. Look at the huge difference with that. Here, I'll back up. Look at that. I mean, that's night and day, man. And that is going to give you a lot more visibility at night here than obviously here. So it doesn't take much. It's not hard to do. And it looks amazing. Now, like I said, did we fix all the defects? Of course not. But compared to replacing, compared to replacing a new headlamp, if you do it yourself, took me probably 20 minutes. If you minus commentary, maybe 15. 20 minutes to get this done. And you'll go from this to that. All right, guys, so this is pretty much it. This is the result that you would get. It's pretty close to the result that you would get with the DIY. Like I said, the clarity is a little bit better because of the fact that we started further down in grit and finished a little bit higher. In this particular case, with this particular car, I actually did 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 compound polish and a coating, just like the DIY kit would do. This is what this needed, but I've done headlights where it needed a lot more bite to it, and then it needed to finish off easier with lighter grit. Does anybody else see the fly that's flying around me? So anyways, but in this particular case, this is going to be the result that you're going to get pretty close to the DIY, and it doesn't cost that much. Like I said, the kits are about $10, and you can take about 30 minutes, and you can do both of your headlights, and it'll look fantastic. So if you have any questions, of course, the comment section is the best way to reach me. But if you need to email me privately, dogreen@ymail.com would be the best way to get a hold of me. I hope you guys learned something from this this video. It's not a lesson, but this video. And definitely, I'll see you all out on the field. Thank you so much.